you think, because now free agency officially starts, like whoever can sign, right? Is this any sort of domino that had to fall for anybody that's out there that's still unsigned? I mean, I'm thinking Hollywood Brown, but I mean any of them. Was there any sort of like, well, let's get to the new league year, and then is that any sort of like mile marker for a team or a player that's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to hold out and see what better offers I get? Like, when does that urgency kick in? Because now there's still quite a few big names that are not linked to anybody right now.
Yeah, there are some big names that are out there. I will tell you, Basin Earnings, I looked at the free agents. I would say 18 of the top 25 are gone. That was
a lot
really
of them went back to
interesting
their old teams.
Yes, yeah. And that's what it was, Luke. It wasn't a lot of movement by the top 25 players in regard to going to other teams. Now, of course, they did. There were examples of players moving there, but I thought that was interesting as well. 18 of the top 25 are still, or actually are signed, and 7 are still out there right now. Of the top 25 free agents that were listed out there, Tyron Smith, by the way, you'd be interested in Tyron Smith right now? You could get him on the cheap, I would imagine, especially after the year he had right there, starting to show a little wear maybe, a little tear, but he's still a much better than average tackle that is out on the market right now. The Cowboys have been super quiet so far, right?
So Jerry said they're all in, though.
Yeah, they're all in. They are. Well, that was Jerry. Yeah. That's
unlikely. Are you going to sign anybody, Jerry? Unlikely.
So of the top 25, at least according to NFL.com, Tyron Smith, Calvin Ridley, Kendall Fuller, Marquise Brown, Stephon Gilmore, Chase Young, Eric Armstead, they're out there right now. Those are the 7 guys in the top 25 that are out there. But it's interesting when you look at the top 40 or 50 from that point on, man, those are the mid-tier guys to me, the top 35, maybe 40, somewhere in there. When you look at those guys, that's when the availability is still there. So there hasn't been a huge rush, obviously, but the Arizona Cardinals, they did do that. They went out and got the mid-tier guy and brought him in.
All right, so what you said earlier, because Hollywood Brown is obviously still one of those bigger names that's out there, and especially within the context of the receiver position, he's either the most highly rated or second most. It's been him and Calvin Ridley. Now, Mike Williams, if he's being released by the Chargers, you got to put him in the mix there at the top 2. But Patrick Mahomes just restructured his deal, creating $21.6 million in cap space. This is the kind of stuff that happens right now leading up to the new league year, or now, just after the new league year. Generally speaking, when you restructure your deal, you're still getting the money. You're just getting it at a different time, or you're getting it in a different form. They're not like paying you in like gift cards or like, like a goat. Here's $21 million worth of goats.
No, believe me, you're getting your money.
So, and maybe the Cardinals aren't here yet, but Kyler's making a lot of money. I mean, is it possible? You brought this up earlier. Is it possible that they're like, hey, maybe you restructure, we can bring Hollywood back? They're not up against the cap ceiling yet.
No.
But they're still going to add other players,
This was such a hot take right here.
It's one of the hottest takes you've ever had.
Was it not? I mean, honestly, pure speculation, brothers and sisters. Pure speculation. And right now, if somebody actually asked me, do you think this is going to happen? I'd say no.
Even if you don't,
that's how speculative it is.
Even if you don't want to speculate specifically, just I mean, if you have a quarterback making this much money, eventually you're hoping to be in a position where you are right up against the cap and competing. So it's got to be on the table at some point.
I'm just thinking again, the fit that Hollywood Brown is for this team, because you need that speed guy, you need that glider over the top, baby. And Hollywood Brown still has that gear, and he's excellent friends with Kyler Murray, of course. They're boys. I just think it's been really, really quiet. Hasn't it been quiet around Hollywood Brown? Man. And, it just, again, could you see the possibility where the Cardinals are at a point where they're like, look, man, we went out and we've improved our defense. We feel good about what we did. We're going to have a better defense. Now we got to give Kyler all the options that he could possibly want. We got to make that better. Well, Hollywood Brown over the top of a Trey McBride working the middle of the field, or a Marvin Harrison Jr. running the short to intermediate routes or down the other sideline.
Not or, and. Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right, and Marvin Harrison Jr., right? You know, and now all of a sudden you've got these possibilities. What do you need? Michael Wilson. I love Michael Wilson as your number 3 receiver. Love that, especially when you've got Hollywood Brown over the top. This makes so much sense to me. You have to wonder, has that phone call been made? And caller, you're just wondering right now, you know, what is it, $52 million?
It's a good amount. Yeah, I believe it's $52 million this year.
Man, what do you say we restructure? You're going to get your money. But, man, what kind of offense would the Arizona Cardinals have if they drafted a top receiver and had Hollywood Brown over the top?
This is, and I mean, obviously it's never going to change, but I always wonder, like, if this was, like in basketball, the draft happens and then free agency. Hockey, draft, and free agency. Baseball, they draft in the middle of a game, so that's kind of weird, like right in the middle of the season. But generally, you have draft before the free agency starts. If that were the case in football and the Cardinals had already drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., A, we'd all be a lot more excited if they did re-sign Hollywood Brown, and B, I wonder if it might be a little bit easier to re-sign Hollywood Brown because you go to Hollywood and you're like, we got a receiver. We're not going to overpay for you. But
see, I think the only thing you would do, go ahead. Finish.
Well, I was just going to say, but we'd like to have you back. And then you go to Kyler and you're like, if you can restructure and we bring him back, look at your offense now.
Yes. And, you know, once again, if you're going to do that, this is kind of cool. You'd have to restructure Kyler if you're going to sign Hollywood to a multi-year contract. Because it wouldn't be really, you would be able to cut other players or you would be able to manipulate other contracts, I think, to get Hollywood Brown signed on a 1-year deal.
Do you think they really want to give him a multi-year contract yet?
I think there's a possibility.
Because they didn't trade the first-round pick for him, and so they've only seen a very limited season of Hollywood.
Yeah, I know. Yet at the same time, I think the goodness of Hollywood Brown, especially when he's not your number 1, so to speak. Now, he's going to be a really important receiver, of course, but if you draft a Marvin Harrison Jr., you're looking at a guy you expect to come in and from day one produce. Now, I understand that's always a dicey proposition in the National Football League, but there are wide receivers that have stepped in from day one and produced. Isn't that right, Jamar Chase?
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.